The desire to have something of one's own is inherent in man by nature itself. We are freedom-loving, proud, purposeful and very strong creatures, capable of taking care of ourselves. We are owners, all of us without exception. We were born to create and have our own creation, and this nature, I tell you, cannot be killed in us. But it can be crippled by putting a person at a desk and starting to teach him not only useful knowledge and skills, but also harmful ones, after which he is no longer able to create, but is very capable of working for hire. However, many people in our time, having listened to their inner voice, having remembered their love for freedom and independence, are beginning to ask themselves the question, how to start their own business. Namely their own, damn it, their own business, and not someone else's, not the one in which you serve someone. To hell with working for someone else, to hell with this boss with his demands and orders. Who is he anyway, your boss, so that you should report to him? Are you really such a weakling that all you can do is serve other people, carrying out their lousy instructions? Are you really incapable of anything yourself? This cannot be. I do not believe in your weakness. I do not believe in your destiny, to sweep, clean, count, bring and carry. I do not believe in your destiny to lick one place of another uncle or aunt. I do not believe that you were born only to serve the masters in every possible way. You are not a serf, you are not a slave, you are a human being. Office plankton is not about you, and everything you are currently doing is nothing more than your temporary type of activity, a temporary shelter, so to speak, for you. You were put to serve society, to serve the system, as if you were just some module, some cog, meaning nothing in itself. But that is not true. You are an independent organism, you are a powerful, independent system with colossal capabilities that you just need to use. Remember, you just need to use them. This is where you should start your business, with your awareness of yourself and your capabilities. Maybe it is too early for us to talk about complete enlightenment, but you should definitely understand that you are no worse than those smart guys who are considered the richest people in the world. Without proper motivation, without anger, and even without rage, you will not create anything, no business, and that is why I want you to get fired up, so that you will go to life like a bull to a new gate, with red eyes. I myself started this way. I broke through with my pressure, to hell, all those ugliness that was put into my head since childhood, diligently preparing me for a slave life in which I had to serve other people. But for me it was unbearable. I have always hated my job fiercely, in the depths of my soul. And so, thanks to my own will, I have reached a new level of understanding this life, in which I no longer want to admire other people's achievements. I want to admire myself and only myself. And you need to feel like a person, not an office or factory or some other rat, a serial number, a statistical unit, but a person. Business, my friends, is a double-edged sword. It is customary for us to talk only about one end of it, about those who created this or that business, brought it to a certain level, got rich with its help, and so on. And it is customary to say absolutely nothing about the other end of the business, about those people at whose expense it was made, about those workers serving this business, on whose bones it was built and on whose sweat and blood it rests. It is understandable. How can a master admit that he is dependent on serfs, on those slaves who allowed him to rise to the top of the social pyramid, to a more or less acceptable top, but not to the very top? No, some businessmen mumble something about a team, about team spirit, about good workers, and so on, trying to explain something to us. But don't tell us fairy tales about a team, don't talk about good workers. Worker comes from the word slave, and that says it all. And we'd better immediately note for ourselves that any business begins with a person's full understanding of who and how he will exploit. I don't want to say that businessmen are bad guys. In no way. I am a businessman myself and I have done no less for society than it has done for me. But we must admit the simple and obvious fact that business implies the exploitation of other people by a businessman, in one form or another. When successful businessmen talk about a team, they don't talk about some team of equal partners, they talk about the people who work for them, first and foremost. Yes, normal businessmen can pay their employees very good money, but this doesn't change the essence of the matter. A salary is not an income, it is always highly dependent on the will of the boss. A business depends on many people, but it belongs to only one or several owners who skim the fattest cream off it. All other people are replaceable modules in this business. And if you decide to go into business, you need to learn the main thing, the ability to organize someone else's work, that is, the ability to manage people. The better you learn to do this, the cooler the business you can create. In this life, everything is arranged quite simply. In it, either you will ride on someone's hump, or someone will climb on your back, and, urging you on, will convince you that you cannot do without him, without your rider. This is what you need to understand before you start creating a business. Because all these hackneyed phrases about how you need a good business idea, startup capital, and other nonsense, frankly speaking, are already enough. Half of the internet is filled with this nonsense, and how many people in our offices are still selling their time? Selling their lives. How many people are forced to go down into mines? How many people in factories are forced to toil for beggarly pennies? So to hell with all these business ideas and similar nonsense. This is not how a business starts. Do you think why, according to American statistics, first of all, 8 out of 10 new businesses fail in the first year of their foundation, and after another 3 to 5 years, out of these 10 businesses started by someone, and out of 2 that survived in the first year, only 1 remains afloat? But, precisely because people do not understand what I said above, they do not understand the main thing, that in business it is important to be able to organize the work of other people, and not to toil like a horse yourself. Do you want to be among those 8 losers who, having created their business, witnessed its demise in the very first year? No? Then read me. I will explain everything to you about this business, because I also once had to comprehend its basics, based not so much on other people's words, but on harsh reality. Start with organizing some simple business in which other people should participate. You don't need to quit your job, take out a loan to start a business, rent an office, develop a business plan, and so on. Don't do something at the first stage that you don't understand a damn thing about and aren't prepared for. There's a time for everything. You wouldn't start building a house by building a roof, and you wouldn't even start building a foundation, and not even with drawings and a house plan, because how can you plan something if you don't know a damn thing about what you're going to plan? You'll probably try to create something simpler first, right? Some kind of house model, some kind of shed, or a doghouse, you'll try to make. Just like children play with toys in their childhood, they assemble all sorts of construction sets, comprehending the physical laws of this world in practice. That's how you should begin comprehending business, from the very beginning. This is if you want to create something worthwhile for sure, and not just try to become a businessman. You can try, but you shouldn't, because trying won't feed you. Of course, you can immediately, right away, start providing people with various services, or selling something, producing, renting an office for this, hiring employees, giving advertising, and so on. But I assure you, if you were taught shoemaking, or how to tighten bolts, and not how to manage people, then your business will most likely very quickly go down the drain. I knew one such tractor driver, shouting that he was some kind of businessman, and in 2008 his business was among the first to die, because at that time in business, boys were actively separating from men. What kind of business can you start that you need to organize at first? You need to start with negotiations on providing people with some services that they need, but which you personally are not able to provide. Here is the simplest, even most primitive example. Some young company or individual, needs to create a website on the internet, no matter for what purpose, but they need it. You agree with such a person, having found him on some freelance exchange, that you can offer him your services in creating a website for a certain amount of money. Offer a normal price, not too low and not too high. I recommend not to underestimate the price too much, but not to overestimate it either, so as not to appear cheap in one case, and greedy and inadequate to the needs of other people in another. Keep in mind that it is important for you to find common ground with your client in the area of price, first of all, because if your clients had a lot of money, they would turn to some web studios that are guaranteed to make high-quality websites, but at a high price. In short, figure out who you are dealing with. When a person, your client, agrees to your offer and entrusts you with creating a website, specifying what kind of website he needs, you will need to find a contractor on this or any other freelance exchange, that is, the person who can create the website that you, or rather, your customer, need. The cost of the contractor's services, of course, should be slightly lower than the amount that you agree on with the customer. It should be slightly lower so that you can show your customer, for whom you have undertaken to make a website, that you can create a very high-quality website for little money, and no one will create a high-quality website for you for pennies. I hope you understand this. The main thing is that the customer and the contractor do not know about each other, otherwise they will no longer need you as an intermediary, and they will refuse your services, and you will not earn anything. Make sure that the person who performs your order does it perfectly. Learn to demand results from people, no matter how much money you pay them. Learn to be a real businessman who squeezes the result of 10 people's work out of an employee, but pays him for one person. In this way, you will train your entrepreneurial streak, which is so often talked about when it comes to business. But a person is not born with an entrepreneurial streak, he develops it, as he adapts to this life. At school, we are taught not entrepreneurship, but serving entrepreneurs, and now you will retrain yourself, through the negotiations I described above. So, learn to negotiate with people in this way, and then any business will go well for you. And as you can see, there is nothing complicated about it. Considering that I suggested that you start creating a business with negotiations on the internet, you do not even need to get your butt off your chair, you do not even need to crawl out of your office, out of your comfort zone. All resources are at your fingertips, you won't need any initial capital, you don't need to rent any offices. Apart from your communication with people, competent communication, nothing is required of you at all. Here you are, starting a business from scratch, from a real scratch, when you have practically nothing. One of my friends created a courier company in this way. I will probably write about his experience some other time. People call him with requests to deliver something somewhere, and he contacts the couriers he hired, and these are usually students eager to work for someone else, and gives them instructions on what, where, and from where they need to deliver. Of course, he also has an accountant working there, a few other employees, but overall, his business is so simple that it can't be any more simple. And it is a business, that is, he himself does not particularly strain himself. Now that's what I call making money. I remember reading a review on the internet from a pregnant woman about how she worked as a courier. She described her experience of working as a courier as a positive experience, like, the work is normal, you can work. I wonder where it is normal. You see how it happens when a person has no brains. Pregnant, and still runs somewhere all day long. If you do not want to negotiate with people about cooperation on the internet, then you can start doing it outside of it. For example, you can offer your services in computer repair, or setting up satellite dishes, or in plumbing, electrical repair, and so on. Place your ads with a description of your services on the internet on free bulletin boards and in newspapers that also allow you to place free ads, and in principle, this will be enough for you at first. Then, again, you will need to find performers of the services that you offer to your clients. You can use the same sources of information, that is, bulletin boards and newspapers. But it is better to find workers among your acquaintances or acquaintances of your acquaintances, so that you have an idea of whom you will send to people to provide them with certain services. Just do not rush to share the scheme of your business with your acquaintances who agree to work for you. Tell them, if they ask, that you have connections with someone who provides you with clients who order services only from proven people who are trusted. In general, make it clear that everything is not so simple, that organizing such a business is very difficult. This is necessary so that your employees do not understand how the chain of intermediaries between them and those for whom they will do the work is organized, that is, so that they do not understand how your business is organized. Let them be happy that they have the opportunity to earn money, and they do not need to know how they earn it. In general, you need to protect your interests. You cannot tell people how your business is organized, otherwise they will prevent you from making money on it. As you can see, I have given you just 2 simple examples of how to negotiate with people, offering them your services and work. There are many more such examples, or better to say business creation schemes, and I will definitely tell you about them in the future. Here is the answer to your question, where to start your business, and how to start it. I suggest you start it with such simple negotiations, so that, as was said above, you can train your entrepreneurial streak. I will repeat once again that you do not need to have any special knowledge, you do not need to graduate from Harvard, you do not need to attract any resources either. Everything is extremely simple. You just need to become a link between those who need it and those who can. Learn, train, get useful experience in collaborating with people, experience in organizing the work of other people, experience in finding clients for your business. And only then will you be able to apply it, this experience, in any, I repeat, in any business, in any more complex business, let's say so. The most important thing in business is people, your clients, your employees, and of course, you yourself. Some people bring you their money, being your clients, others work it off, being your employees, and you yourself manage this entire process, being a specialist who is well versed in the issue of organizing other people's work. As for which business is easier to start, here, in fact, it does not matter much what exactly you start with. As long as the business in which you decide to prove yourself as an owner is, firstly, in demand by people, and secondly, you need to understand at least something about it. Now let's talk about the mistakes you can make when trying to negotiate with people about providing them with services or selling them some goods, an example of selling or reselling goods, I did not give in this article. I will write about this in another article, but you can figure out the meaning of it yourself. You are an intermediary. No matter what you offer services or goods to your clients, you must be able to do the main thing, sell. That is, you need to convince people that it is your offer to provide them with services or sell them some goods that is the best and most profitable. The key word here is offer. You are not offering a unique product, not an unusual service, but an offer. No need to reinvent the wheel. This is a stupid idea for a newbie in business. Not all companies take on something new, since it is a very expensive business. New things scare people away if they are not prepared for this new thing. And big companies invest millions of dollars in advertising to convince the average person of the need to buy some new miracle thing that they can't live without. Most people, no matter what they think about themselves, can't think with their own heads. They swallow everything that advertising hammers into them. So why should you convince the average person that your incomprehensible vegetable, for example, is a very nutritious and very healthy product? If this product hasn't been shown on TV and praised, then the average person won't believe you. Offer him the potatoes he's used to, but at double the price, because they're, I don't know, imported from Holland, or grown naturally. Come up with something. In other words, focus not on the uniqueness of your product or service, but on the uniqueness of your offer of a particular service or a particular product. Do not look for new needs, do not invent them. You do not need the experience of Steve Jobs at the first stage of creating your business. Learn to provide old services and sell old products in a new way. Find a need for a particular service and satisfy it with the hands of those who feel the need for money, or rather, for work. It does not matter that you are not the first in a particular business, it is important that you are unique. Many repair computers and create websites, but you do it better than others. It is more profitable to cooperate with you. This is what you should focus on. Another mistake that novice businessmen make is not understanding who their target audience is. Don't think that everyone needs your products and services just because, theoretically, everyone will use them because they already use similar things. This is not true. Any book on marketing worth its salt teaches this. If you sell refrigerators that are in every home, this does not mean that everyone is your potential client. I don't need your refrigerator because, firstly, I already have one and you won't convince me to replace my refrigerator with a new one just because my refrigerator is outdated. And secondly, because I will compare the price of your product, or rather, your offer, with the price of other businessmen 1,000 times and choose the best one. And I am sure that your offer, considering that you are a newbie in business, will not be the best for me. I won't even mention the quality. If I had a good old Soviet refrigerator, I wouldn't buy a new one, even if I had all the opportunities to do so. And I do. The crap they sell today is often not worth the money. True, expensive goods, so to speak, branded goods, thank God, don't let you down. In general, not all people are your clients, far from all. Therefore, there is no need to say that most people are your clients. Each product and service, even each specific offer, has its own target audience, which you should focus on. If you cannot define it, your target audience, then this is a problem for you, and it needs to be solved. You don't need to offer a granny who needs dentures expensive implants that she cannot afford. And in the same way, when offering your services to create the same website, do not try to palm off a website for 100 grand on some company just starting out. Don't be stupid and you won't lose your clients. Don't be greedy and you won't lose your clients. Don't be lazy and then you won't lose your clients either. Consider not only people's desires, but also their capabilities. Thus, we have found out that you need, if you have never done business before, firstly, to develop an entrepreneurial streak in yourself, by conducting business negotiations with people, among whom will be both customers, your clients, of certain services or goods. I recommend starting with services, so as not to spend money on purchasing goods, and performers who will do the work that you agree on with your clients. Secondly, this type of your activity will not require any costs from you, while you can quite count on a very good income, with such your training in the ability to do business. Thirdly, you will not need any special resources either, except for a computer, internet, and a telephone, which you, as a modern person, I am sure you have. These are natural resources for our time, on which you spend money even without any business. Fourthly, you need to understand to whom and what services you will provide, well, or maybe sell goods. If, for example, you decide to buy potatoes from grannies in the village and sell them at the market with a markup, you need to understand that millionaires do not go to markets, therefore, your potatoes should be affordable for most people. The same with services, you need to understand that a reputable company will not look for a person on a freelance exchange to create a website. It will contact an equally reputable company for this purpose, and perhaps overpay them quite a bit for their website, but will receive a guarantee of its quality. Therefore, only someone who does not have much money can become your client on a freelance exchange and order a website from you. Therefore, your services should be inexpensive, but acceptable for you, taking into account that you will delegate this work to another person, who still needs to be found and with whom you still need to agree. By the way, about workers, that is, about the performers to whom you will entrust this or that work. Most of them, not all, are lazy, greedy, stupid, and extremely irresponsible creatures. Never pay such people, your workers, money in advance. Only after your worker has done the work for your client and he accepts it and remains satisfied with this work, only after that pay wages, that is, share a piece of the pie in the form of profit, with your worker. Do not get burned on what I once got burned more than once, because of my own stupidity, seeing in people who came to work for me, someone more than who they really were. Remember, smart people will not look for work, especially low-paying work. Smart people create businesses or already have a job, which usually finds them itself. So if someone doesn't know how to make money, it means they don't really want to make it. Pay such a lazy person money in advance, and they'll screw you, you can be sure of that. As for the fact that your employees can theoretically do without you, starting to work for your clients directly, yes, this happens, and with any business. There are methods of protecting a business from very competent employees who refuse intermediaries in the form of employers, and we will definitely consider them in my future articles, but for now, don't attach too much importance to this issue. Many workers don't care, especially unskilled workers who can only dig up a garden, clean up trash, break something, load something, etc., about who provided them with work and how. Therefore, the main thing is to give people what they need, work and the result of this work, and do not be afraid that they will somehow agree among themselves. If people could agree among themselves, we would have abolished not only business, but also power. But people can only conflict with each other, so any organization is possible only if there is some shepherd around whom they can group and whose instructions they can follow. So do not worry, all the sheep from your stall will not run away. In general, as you can see, this is not an easy task for an ordinary person to learn how to do business. And basically all the difficulties of creating a business come down to managing people, to negotiations with them and to mutually beneficial agreements with them. For some people all these things come easy, for others they have to strain themselves to organize at least someone, to organize themselves, in the end. I will not write about the initial capital, about the business plan and similar things now, because at the initial stage, when a person asks the question how to start his own business, that is, when he knows nothing about this business at all these things are not so important. Learn to negotiate with people, get benefits from this, and then I will teach you more complex things. Read my articles, and you will not have any problems with business and money in your life.